In 1858, the East India Company died. 258 years after a handful of London merchants went looking for pepper, the company that had bought a subcontinent was finished, stripped of its armies, its territories, its right to rule. You might expect the story to end there. The villain of our first series gone. But here's the strange part. The conquest didn't end. It simply changed hands. And the new owner did something the company never quite dared to do out loud. It sent India a bill for the cost of conquering itself. To understand 1858, you have to start with the year before it. In 1857, a great rebellion had very nearly torn British India apart. Soldiers and princes, peasants and dispossessed nobles rose against the company from Meerut to Delhi to Awadh. It took more than a year and a great deal of blood for the company to claw back control. And when the smoke finally cleared, the people in London who actually mattered had reached a conclusion. A private company could no longer be trusted to run the lives of 200 million people. So Parliament passed the Government of India Act, and on the 1st of November 1858, in Allahabad, a proclamation was read aloud in the name of Queen Victoria. From this day, India would be ruled directly by the British Crown. The promises were warm and wide: religious tolerance, equal protection of the law, the same treatment as any other subject of the Queen. A clean break, a new beginning. The company's flag came down. The Raj had begun. But every transfer of power comes with paperwork, and buried in this paperwork was a number. Because the East India Company had never ruled for free, it ruled on borrowed money. Decades of wars, annexations, and standing armies had left it tens of millions of pounds in debt. And when the Crown took over in 1858, it faced a simple question: who pays what the company owed? The answer was not Britain. The Crown assumed the company's debts, and then placed the entire sum onto the public accounts of India. Let that settle for a moment. The money the company had borrowed to conquer India was now a debt that India itself was legally obliged to repay, with interest, for years to come. The subcontinent had been bought on credit, and the bill had just been handed to the people who were bought. And there was a fresh charge to add to the account. Putting down the rebellion of 1857 had been staggeringly expensive. Armies moved across oceans, supplies, ships, and the long, brutal work of reprisal. That money had to come from somewhere. So the cost of crushing the uprising was itself added to India's debt. Think about what that means. The very people who had risen up were now charged for the army that put them down. The rebellion was paid for twice over, once in lives, and then again on paper for a generation. This is the thread to hold on to for the whole series. Not the cruelty you can see, but the arithmetic you can't. The quiet decision made in an accounts office that India would fund the empire that ruled it. There was still, in name at least, an emperor. Bahadur Shah Zafar, poet, calligrapher, an old man in his 80s, was the last of the Mughals. The rebels of 1857 had rallied around him, made him a symbol of an India that belonged to Indians. The British did not forgive that. He was tried, his sons were killed, and he was exiled across the sea to Rangoon, where he died a prisoner. 2 yards of land, he wrote, were all that was left to him, a grave in a foreign country. And with him went the last shred of the idea that India belonged to anyone who lived in it. The subcontinent now had a single landlord, and that landlord lived an ocean away. In London, a new apparatus took charge: a Secretary of State for India, a council to advise him, and in Calcutta, a viceroy to rule in the Crown's name, Lord Canning, the first of them. It had the shape of government, but followed the money, and it looked like something much older. Because India would now pay, every single year, a set of expenses the British called the home charges, the pensions of British officials, paid by India, the running cost of the India office in London, paid by India, the interest on that inherited debt, paid by India, and the bill for the army, paid, of course, by India. The country was charged, in London, for the privilege of being ruled from London. This was the template. Not a one-time cost, but a system, one that would run for almost 90 years. Every chapter still to come in this series begins right here. The railways sold as a gift, the famines the empire exported, the drain of wealth a Bombay merchant would one day try to measure. All of it grows out of this single founding decision that a country could be handed the bill for its own conquest and made to pay it quietly. The company is gone, but the accounting? The accounting has only just begun. Tareekh ka Hisaab, history, audited. Hisaab abhi baki hai. The account isn't settled yet.